Right, hello guys, welcome to the second Lightroom tutorial. And today I will show you how you can turn this image right here into something like this. Right, as you can see, this image is like it's okay. Isn't much going on, but like here the colors are really popping. And I'm going to show you how you can do that. So let me first reset all settings right here. And by the way, all presets will be in the description below for you to download and check out. So let's go. First of all, because this scene has a lot of dynamic range, I'll first decrease contrast here. Just like about 20, I guess. And for the same reason, we'll decrease the highlights and increase the shadows right here, like quite a bit. But like we're decreasing highlights here, but we're gonna revert it with some filters, because like we want a little bit of detail here for the highlights, but we want this kind of blown out, as I showed you in the edit. Right, the whites and the blacks, yeah, we can decrease the blacks a little to get a bit more contrast back, and then for clarity, just bump it up a little. Like usually I'll decrease it, but now I'll increase it because we've got like these stones with a lot of detail. And then for the vibrance, we're of course really gonna increase that because we want quite a lot of color in the scene. So let's increase it to like 70. And don't worry, like it looks pretty bad right now, but we're gonna fix it later. And now onto the tone curve. I just, like you can do this yourself, just draw 5 points in. I made like my own little preset here, so I don't need to do that every time. We're just gonna crush the blacks just a tiny little bit, maybe a bit more, which will create like a kind of soft effect-ish. And then we're gonna create this little S-curve thing. Not too much, but I guess, yeah. This seems alright. And then for the top here, for the whites, just decrease it like 99.6 so it doesn't clip. Right, now on to the HSL tab. This is where we're really gonna make the image, as I also showed in the last edit. So right now for the reds, like we've got some right here, but we don't really want the reds, we want this to be kind of purplish. So we're gonna decrease the saturation of that a bit and like increase the luminance here. So like the red that is present there gets more like pushed into a little bit brighter, if you know what I mean. But make sure like it isn't such a deep red, so it's another form of using saturation, but then like when you're decreasing luminance, you're adding a lot of contrast, and increasing luminance, you're like making sure that color isn't really present anymore. So right now for the orange, as you can see, the tree is already changing here, so we want to change it like, what did I have it before? Like -59, and then increase the saturation a bit and do the same with the luminance. Increase that a little further to like this. Then yellows we're gonna leave because like when I do this around, move this around, there isn't much difference. Like yeah, you got the leaves, yeah, you've got this, but I quite like the color now and the saturation. It's all fine right now. And we're gonna change a couple of things in the yellows with radial filters anyway. So then over to the greens. There aren't a lot of greens, like there are a couple of greens here, but I want to make them a bit more yellow because that kind of fits like the sun coming out of here vibe. So I'll decrease those. I'll also decrease the saturation because I don't want them to be that present, and again I'll increase the luminance here. And now for the aqua, we've got quite a lot here. But again, I don't really want aqua messing, so I'm going to decrease the saturation all the way and decrease the luminance as well. And as you can see, that creates a lot of interest in this area, in the sky. let's see if I, because this seems like a lot. I didn't mean to decrease the saturation all the way. Right, seems like that. And for the Aqua, I'll decrease it. Yeah, that was it. Right, I'm also doing, like, I need to check back on my original edit sometimes. But I'm just explaining here how I edited this one. And for the purple, again, there isn't much purple there because, like, I'll just remove them with the saturation because otherwise it's distracting, you know. And I believe, yeah, the same goes for the magenta here. Like, there are some here, but you don't want to look there. You want to look, like, to the tree and stuff. Then the thing I should have done before, actually, but just enable chromatic aberration and the profile connections, so that's just the default. And just check your lenses listed here. You might need to manually select it. I've got like the 70-40 f4L already selected, so that's all good to go. Then for the transform, I quite like this composition. Like, it's maybe a bit off axis, but it doesn't really matter with this particular image because like the street itself isn't straight either, so it's fine. We're gonna leave the vignette for now. And let's go into camera calibration now. We're going to decrease the blues here. And as you can see, the tree is starting to get a bit more pink. And that's what we want. So we decrease this by like 30. And then we can increase the saturation. Yeah, that's about right. And then for the greens, we can also, like, becomes a bit softer. Like 17 here and just a little bit. And then for the reds, like, we don't want this to be red, we want it to be a bit more pink, but like not too much, so like -5 and decrease this a little as well. Right, so I guess that's pretty good already, but let's see, right now we've got this image, but when you compare it to the other one, you had like a lot more light coming from here and such. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to create a radial filter here. And we're just going to up the exposure here. Just a little. And this is only for the center. And then what we're also going to do is we're going to create a second one. It's a lot more wider. And we're not going to do anything with the exposure, but we're going to increase the highlights, maybe like a bit lower here. Let's see about the shadows. Yeah, I guess something like that. And then we're gonna go ahead and go to the tree. We can like increase the saturation here a bit, increase the exposure, just like that. There we go. Then what we also can do is we create a radial filter here and decrease the exposure here a bit, so it doesn't really distract that much. Then create a radial filter for the foreground right here. I'm doing this pretty quick, and then we can increase the clarity even more here. Right, so that's already looking pretty good. Then what we can do is we can head over to the effects and we can create a vignette here. Let's see. Yeah, that seems about right, I guess. And let's also create like an adjustment layer for the streaking here. I think this can be a bit brighter with the exposure as well. And in general, let's see, exposure of the entire shot can just go up like teeny tiny bit. But then again, for the streaks here, as I said, you create another radial filter, turn it a bit like this. And let's see. Let's go for a bit more of the highlights. And then another one that like includes a bit more. And we're only gonna do like the temperature here to create like that warm feel of that sun coming through, just like that. And as you can see, with like a few adjustment layers, when I turn them off and on, you can turn like this image into this, which really grabs your attention, and like your eyes immediately go to the tree, for example, and the light coming from here. And it really gives you a lot more control, because it was like only 2-3 minutes I spent on that. And it can really make your image. So that was pretty much the edit of the image, I guess. Although I forgot one thing. Again, in the detail tab we can add a little bit of sharpening. On default there's already a bit of sharpening. There's no masking, and when you hold Alt you can see everything is being sharpened. And when I drag this to the right, you can see a lot less is getting sharpened. Because when everything is getting sharpened like this, you kind of get a lot of artifacting and noise and such, and you don't really want that. So I usually drag this like to, I don't know, about 70, and then increase the sharpening a bit. And I don't see any noise in this picture. Yeah, maybe some, but we don't need any noise reduction, that's all fine. So basically we turned this image right here into something like this. I'll leave the preset below with and without the filters so you can take a look. They may differ a bit from what I created in this video, but like I will link the presets on which I release the final image. And if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.